Had one of Australia's most hated cars could become one of its greatest automotive legends? Not the GTHO, not the XB Cobra, not even the mighty XY Falcon. The AU Falcon. Yes, that AU Falcon. The one people laughed at. The one people called ugly. The one that became the punchline of countless Australian jokes. But here's something fascinating. The people who laughed the loudest back then are often the same people desperately trying to buy one today. Because sometimes history changes. Sometimes we simply don't appreciate what we have until it's gone. And perhaps no Australian car tells that story better than the AU Falcon. When Ford unveiled the AU in 1998, expectations couldn't have been higher. The EL Falcon had been a huge success. Australians expected another conservative evolution. Instead, Ford shocked everyone. The AU arrived with futuristic new edge styling inspired by European Fords. Rounded headlights, curved body panels, an oval-shaped rear. Nothing looked like the Falcons Australians had grown up with. Many people hated it instantly. Some called it awkward. Others called it ugly. Many couldn't believe Ford had taken such a huge styling risk on Australia's most important family car. Sales suffered. The internet wasn't even what it is today. Yet somehow everyone still found a way to joke about the AU. It became one of Australia's biggest automotive memes. But here's the funny part. Underneath all those controversial curves, the AU was actually brilliant. Ford had engineered one of the strongest Falcon platforms ever built. It was lighter, stiffer, safer. The suspension was dramatically improved. The handling was excellent. Taxi companies love them because they simply refuse to die. Many covered 500,000. Some even 1,000,000 kilometers. The Barra engine was still waiting in the future. But the foundations were already there. Time passed. The BA arrived. Then the BF. Then the FG. Eventually the magnificent FGX. And in 2016, Australian Falcon production came to an end. Or, at least, it did in our timeline. But imagine something different. Imagine Ford Australia never closed. Imagine the AU never disappeared. Instead, Ford embraced its controversial styling. Rather than replacing it every few years, they refined it. Again, and again, and again. Every generation becoming cleaner, sharper, smarter, without ever abandoning what made the AU unmistakably. Oh. The early 2000s introduced improved aerodynamics while softening some of the more controversial details. The 2010s bring LED lighting, aluminium construction, and turbocharged power. The 2020s introduce artificial intelligence, adaptive suspension, and mild hybrid technology. Then, everything culminates here. The year is 2030. The new Ford Falcon AU Xr8 Turbo. 3 decades of uninterrupted evolution. And somehow, it still looks unmistakably AU. Look closely. The famous sweeping roofline remains. The unmistakable Falcon proportions survive. Even the spirit of the original front end can still be recognized. Only now it's been refined through 30 years of continuous development. The headlights have evolved into razor-sharp adaptive LED units. The grille is lower, wider, and more aggressive. Every body panel has become smoother and more aerodynamic while still honoring Ford's bold new edge philosophy. It's exactly what natural evolution should look like. Not retro. Not a remake. Simply, the AU. 30 years later. Under the bonnet sits something worthy of wearing the XR8 badge. A 5.0-litre twin turbocharged V8 producing an incredible 697 horsepower and 850 Nm of torque. A sophisticated 48-volt mild hybrid system eliminates turbo lag, boosts efficiency, and provides instant low-speed response without sacrificing that unmistakable V8 soundtrack Australians know and love. Power is delivered exclusively to the rear wheels through a lightning-fast 10-speed automatic transmission paired with an electronically controlled limited slip differential. The numbers are astonishing. 0 to 100 km an hour in just 3.6 seconds. Top speed, a staggering 305 km per hour. Not bad. For the car people once laughed at. But straight-line speed has never defined the Falcon. It's always been about covering enormous Australian distances in complete comfort. That's why the suspension continuously scans the road hundreds of times every second. Adaptive dampers instantly adjust to changing conditions. Whether you're cruising across the Nullarbor, attacking mountain roads, or heading around Bathurst, the Falcon constantly adapts. Inside, things become even more impressive. The dashboard combines modern technology with subtle references to the AU's original flowing interior design. A fully digital instrument cluster can even recreate classic analog Falcon gauges with a single button press. The center touchscreen seamlessly integrates navigation, performance telemetry, vehicle diagnostics, and artificial intelligence. The head-up display projects speed, navigation, and performance information directly onto the windscreen. Even more impressive, the Falcon actually learns how you drive. Artificial intelligence quietly studies your braking, steering, throttle inputs, and cornering style. Over time, gear changes become smoother. Suspension settings become more personalized. Throttle response adapts to your habits. It slowly becomes your Falcon. The cabin itself feels unmistakably Australian. Large, supportive seats, massive rear legroom, a huge boot. Everything designed for the long distances Australians actually drive. Unlike many European performance sedans, this one still understands Australia. Perhaps that's exactly why the AU deserves another chance. History has been incredibly kind to it. Cars people once criticized are now celebrated. Enthusiasts who once avoided them now restore them. Values continue climbing. Because once the jokes disappeared, people finally noticed the engineering. Perhaps Ford was simply ahead of its time. Perhaps Australians weren't ready. Or perhaps the AU simply needed 30 years to become cool. Looking at this 2030 interpretation, it's difficult not to imagine what could have been. The Falcon never became another generic performance sedan. It never copied Germany. It never copied America. It simply kept evolving into something uniquely Australian. Fast, comfortable, reliable, practical, powerful. Everything the Falcon had always stood for. And perhaps that's the biggest lesson of all. Never judge a car too quickly, because today's joke might become tomorrow's legend. So here's the question. If Ford Australia had survived, and this exact 2030 AU Xr8 Turbo appeared in dealerships tomorrow, would you buy one? Or do you still think the AU should have remained in the late 1990s? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoy seeing legendary cars reimagined for the future, don't forget to subscribe. Because the next forgotten automotive icon we are bringing back might just be Australia's greatest comeback yet.